Why Eminem never wanted anything to do with Diddy. I've never even called Diddy. Really, Diddy seemed to have connections everywhere. Politicians, billionaires, movie stars, music executives, and some of the biggest rappers alive. Even 50 Cent was once close enough to move through the same circles before everything fell apart and they became bitter enemies. But there was one superstar who always seemed determined to stay outside Diddy's world. He didn't join the parties. He didn't chase the connections, and he definitely didn't act intimidated by the power behind Bad Boy Records. That artist was Eminem. When you hear Eminem's line about Diddy on Fuel, it hits hard. But what makes it even crazier is that the line didn't come out of nowhere. By that point, Eminem had been taking shots at Diddy for decades. Some were jokes, some were obvious disses, and others sounded a whole lot more serious. To understand why, we have to go all the way back to the beginning. When Eminem was still fighting to get noticed, Diddy was already one of the most powerful men in hip-hop. Bad Boy Records was dominating the charts. Biggie had become a legend, and for a lot of young rappers, getting Diddy's attention felt like winning the lottery. But that was never Eminem's dream. Marshall wanted to work with Dr. Dre. So when Dre finally discovered him and brought him to Aftermath, Eminem chose the path he had imagined for years. That partnership changed both of their lives. Together they created some of the most successful and controversial rap records ever made. But even before Eminem became famous, he had already shown that he wasn't afraid to mention powerful people. Back in 1996, he reportedly threw an early jab at Puff Daddy on the track Fucking Crazy. It wasn't the biggest diss of Eminem's career, but looking back, it gave us an early glimpse of his personality. Eminem didn't care how rich someone was. He didn't care how connected they were, and he definitely didn't believe powerful people should be protected from jokes. That same attitude also put him in uncomfortable territory with another feared figure in hip-hop, Suge Knight. Suge ran Death Row Records, which had been home to artists like Tupac, Snoop Dogg, and Dr. Dre. And during the label's peak, Suge had one of the most intimidating reputations in the entire music business. People didn't simply describe him as a tough executive. They talked about him like he was the boogeyman of hip-hop. Former artists and industry insiders have told countless stories about threats, intimidation, and violence surrounding Death Row. Whether every story was true or not, the fear was definitely real. People weren't just nervous around Suge Knight. According to those who lived through that era, some of them were terrified. But Eminem never seemed impressed by that reputation. One famous story comes from the filming of 50 Cent's Indie Club video. According to people who were there, Suge suddenly arrived outside the set with a group of men. The atmosphere changed immediately. People began moving around and trying to figure out what was happening. Some of the crew reportedly wanted nothing to do with the situation. But Eminem didn't hide inside. He walked outside and faced Suge directly. That moment apparently changed the way several people around Eminem viewed him. This wasn't just a rapper acting fearless in his lyrics. When a genuinely tense situation happened, he still refused to back down. And according to the people telling the story, Suge eventually left without the confrontation escalating any further. Eminem later recorded a diss aimed at Suge, but Dr. Dre reportedly convinced him not to release it because the conflict wasn't really Eminem's fight. The track eventually leaked years later, and judging by the lyrics, Marshall was not holding anything back. So when people ask whether Eminem might have been afraid of Diddy, I honestly don't see much evidence of that. This was someone who had already challenged one of the most feared men in music. Why would he suddenly become quiet around another powerful executive? That brings us back to Diddy. Eminem continued taking shots at him on the Marshall Mathers LP in 2000. One reference was relatively mild by Eminem standards, but another line involving Diddy's girlfriend at the time, Jennifer Lopez, was much darker. The lyrics were outrageous, provocative, and intentionally offensive. In other words, they sounded exactly like early Slim Shady. Diddy never released a public response to those lines, but I seriously doubt he heard them and thought they were hilarious. Still, there wasn't an open war between the two men. During the early 2000s, they mostly stayed in their own lanes. Eminem was releasing multi-platinum albums with Dr. Dre. Sean Combs was expanding the Bad Boy brand and changing his stage name from Puff Daddy to P. Diddy. Their paths occasionally crossed at award shows and other major industry events. One of the most memorable moments happened at the 2003 Grammy Awards. Diddy was the person who announced Eminem as the winner of Best Rap Album for the Eminem Show. The interaction was professional, but maybe it's just me because the energy still looked slightly uncomfortable. What makes their relationship more complicated is that Diddy has publicly respected Eminem's talent. In a 2003 Rolling Stone interview, Diddy placed Eminem among the best rappers in the game. He said Biggie and Tupac belonged to a different category in his mind. But he also made it clear that he considered Eminem an incredible MC. So publicly, at least, Diddy gave Marshall the respect he had earned. Behind the scenes, however, their stories kept connecting through other people. The biggest connection was 50 Cent. Before 50 signed with Eminem and Dr. Dre, Diddy had reportedly considered working with him. But 50's street conflicts, including his feud with Ja Rule, made him look like a dangerous investment. Diddy passed. Eminem and Dre didn't. That decision helped turn 50 Cent into one of the biggest rap stars of the 2000s. His albums sold tens of millions of copies. His music dominated radio. And suddenly, the artist Diddy had passed on became one of Eminem's closest allies. Personally, I think that decision probably bothered more than a few executives. Diddy didn't simply miss out on another successful rapper, and he missed out on an entire era. For several years, the Eminem and Diddy story became quiet. Then the allegations surrounding Tupac's murder pushed their names into the same conversation again. In 2015, the documentary Murder Rap Inside the Biggie and Tupac Murders presented the investigation of former LAPD detective Greg Kading. Kading alleged that Diddy had offered money for Tupac and Suge Knight to be killed. He also connected Dwayne Keefe D. Davis and members of the Southside Compton Crips to the shooting. These claims have been heavily debated, and Diddy has denied involvement. But 50 Cent immediately began using the allegations to attack him publicly. At first, Eminem stayed mostly outside that conversation. Then came his 2018 battle with Machine Gun Kelly. On the diss track Killshot, Eminem included a line connecting Diddy with Tupac's death, and then right at the end, Eminem pulled back and said he was only playing and that he loved Diddy. Classic Eminem. He'll throw a grenade into the room and then smile like nothing happened. The internet immediately exploded. Some fans believed the line was just another outrageous joke. Others wondered whether Eminem knew something the public didn't. I wouldn't jump to that conclusion. Eminem has built an entire career by taking rumors and uncomfortable subjects and turning them into punchlines. But even as a joke, this one touched an extremely sensitive subject. According to Joe Budden, Diddy was not happy about it. Budden said Puff had told him the matter was being handled privately. That response only made people more curious. In previous years, Diddy had ignored most of Eminem's jokes. This time, the subject was too serious to brush aside. Diddy has repeatedly denied allegations that he had anything to do with Tupac's death, and whenever interviewers have pushed him on the subject, he has usually dismissed the claims as nonsense. Later, when Eminem discussed the MGK feud during an interview, he made something else clear. He and Diddy were not close. They weren't calling each other. They weren't working together. They apparently didn't even have the kind of relationship where Eminem would contact him to explain a lyric. I've never made a call to Diddy. Really, I've got Diddy's number. Just call him and say what's up. That never happened. That exchange told us almost everything we needed to know. They might have respected each other's accomplishments, but they were not friends. After Killshot, it seemed reasonable to assume they would keep their distance. Then their names became connected again in 2020. That year, Eminem released Music to Be Murdered by. On Godzilla, he briefly referenced Diddy in a wordplay-heavy bar. That mention didn't create much drama, but the calm didn't last. A few months later, an unreleased Eminem verse leaked online. The verse had originally been recorded for a remix of Conway the Machine's song Bang. In the leaked version, Eminem attacked Diddy's media company, Revolt TV, with an extremely direct insult. The backlash came quickly. Less than a day later, Eminem released a public statement. He explained that the verse had been recorded during a heated moment. He said it was never intended for release, and he made it clear that he respected Revolt and the work the company had done for hip-hop. That apology was interesting to me. Eminem almost never sounds afraid of controversy. But he also knows the difference between a calculated lyric and an old discarded verse being leaked without context. Instead of pretending it didn't happen, he addressed it immediately. Then, beginning in late 2023, the entire conversation surrounding Diddy changed. Several people filed lawsuits accusing him of sexual assault, physical abuse, and other misconduct. One of the most serious cases came from his former girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. Her lawsuit described years of alleged violence, control, and abuse. Diddy denied the accusations when the lawsuit was filed. The case was settled shortly afterward without an admission of wrongdoing. Months later, surveillance footage was released showing Diddy physically attacking Cassie in a hotel hallway. After the footage became public, Diddy released an apology for his behavior in the video. At around the same time, Keefe D was facing prosecution in connection with Tupac's murder. For years, Keefe D had appeared in interviews and online videos discussing the shooting and his alleged role in the events surrounding it. He also spoke publicly about his past connections with Diddy. Those interviews revived old claims and conspiracy theories that had followed Diddy for decades. To be clear, Diddy has denied ordering Tupac's murder, and the accusation has not been established as fact in court. But for Eminem, the combination of public allegations, old rumors, and newly released footage became material. In 2024, he released The Death of Slim Shady, and on that album, he went after Diddy harder than ever. On Bad One, Eminem referenced the infamous stories and allegations surrounding Diddy's parties. The line was delivered like a joke, but the subject behind it was anything but funny. Then on Antichrist, Eminem referenced the hotel footage involving Cassie. This time, there was no need to rely on decades-old rumors. The public had seen the footage for themselves. But Eminem's hardest Diddy references appeared on Fuel. The wordplay was layered. He played with the spelling of rapper and rapist. Then he connected the letter combination SA with sexual assault. It was the kind of technical bar Eminem fans love to break down frame by frame. But beneath the wordplay was a direct attack on Diddy and the accusations surrounding him. Eminem then referenced Biggie and Tupac. He said both men should still be alive, and he joked that he didn't want Diddy to put a hit on him through Keefe D. Again, this was Eminem using allegations and rumors as lyrical ammunition. It was not proof of anything, but it was definitely not friendly. Then on the Fuel remix, Eminem pushed the idea even further. He suggested that Biggie's murder had been part of a domino effect that began with Tupac's killing. That theory has circulated for years, but hearing Eminem put it into a song introduced it to an even bigger audience. And after everything Marshall said across these tracks, I think one thing is obvious. Eminem and Diddy are not friends. Maybe they never were. Eminem's loyalty has always been with Dr. Dre and 50 Cent. And as the conflict between 50 and Diddy became more personal, Eminem was never likely to move toward Diddy's side. 50 has spent years trolling Diddy online. He has mocked the lawsuits. He has commented on the investigations. And he has promoted a documentary project about the allegations. 50 even claimed that Diddy sent funeral flowers to him after the documentary was announced. Whether that gesture was meant as intimidation, dark humor, or something else is impossible for outsiders to know. But 50 clearly interpreted it as a message. And if Diddy sees 50 Cent as an enemy, it wouldn't be surprising if some of that resentment extends to Eminem. The two rappers have supported each other for more than 2 decades. Eminem helped make 50 a superstar, and 50 has remained one of Marshall's most loyal friends in the industry. Looking back, this entire story reveals something consistent about Eminem. He has never seemed impressed by powerful reputations. Not Suge Knight's, not Diddy's, not anyone's. That doesn't mean every accusation inside his lyrics is true. Eminem is an entertainer, and provocation has always been part of his art. But when he believes a subject is worth addressing, he rarely stays quiet just because the person involved has money, influence, or dangerous connections. And that may be the real reason he kept his distance from Diddy's world. Eminem never needed anything from it. He already had Dr. Dre, he already had Aftermath. And once he became successful enough to say whatever he wanted, there was no executive powerful enough to make him stop. The next video you should watch is our full breakdown of why Diddy has been accused of involvement in Tupac's murder. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.